The ship called Horizon moved slowly through the darkness of space. It had traveled for 3 long years to reach this place. Admiral Tejo Park stood at the window of the bridge and looked at the massive station floating before them. Nexus Prime, the capital of the Galactic Concord. 47 alien civilizations had built this place together over 12,000 years, and now humanity had come to ask for a seat at their table. Tejo was 58 years old. His hair had turned gray during the journey. He had seen many things in his life. He had fought in wars. He had lost friends. But nothing had prepared him for this moment. First contact with alien life. The chance to join a galactic community. His hands were steady, but his heart was beating fast. Ambassador Yoonji Kim walked onto the bridge. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a calm voice. She had spent her whole life studying diplomacy. She knew how to read people. She knew how to find common ground between enemies. But she had never negotiated with aliens before. Nobody had. The council has agreed to see us, she said. We dock in 1 hour. Tejo nodded. Is the delegation ready? They are. Yoonji stood beside him and looked at the station. It was beautiful in a strange way. Towers of crystal and metal reached out in every direction. Lights of different colors glowed from thousands of windows. Ships of all shapes and sizes moved around it like fish around a reef. Do you think they will accept us? I do not know, Tejo said honestly. But we have come too far to turn back now. Dr. Hyunwoo Choi joined them a few minutes later. He was the lead scientist on the mission. A quiet man who preferred books to people. He had studied every piece of information about alien life that humanity had ever collected. Radio signals. Distant observations. Ancient ruins found on Mars. He knew more about the Concord than anyone else on Earth. But even he admitted that his knowledge was like a single drop in an ocean. I have been reviewing their social structure, Hyunwoo said. The Concord is led by 3 elder races. The Veleth are crystalline beings. They think slowly, but live for thousands of years. The Morith are made of gas. They float and change shape. Very intelligent. Very proud. And the Creel are insectoid. They have a hive mind. One queen controls millions of workers. And they all agreed to let us speak? Yoonji asked.
They did.
But I noticed something in their transmissions. Hanwoo pushed his glasses up his nose. They have been studying us for a long time. Longer than we realized. I think they know more about humanity than we know about them. This made Tejo uncomfortable. But there was nothing he could do about it now. The Horizon docked at Nexus Prime. The delegation walked through long corridors filled with strange smells and stranger sounds. Aliens of many kinds watched them pass. Some had scales. Some had feathers. Some had no solid form at all. Most of them stared at the humans with expressions that were hard to read. Curiosity? Fear? Disgust? Tejo could not tell. The council chamber was enormous. It was shaped like a bowl, with seats rising up on all sides. Representatives from all 47 species sat in their designated areas. At the center, on a raised platform, sat the 3 elder races. The Veleth representative looked like a statue made of purple crystal. The Morith was a swirling cloud of silver mist. The Creel Queen was massive, her body covered in black armor. Her many eyes watching everything at once. Eung stepped forward. She had practiced this speech 1,000 times. She spoke clearly and simply, knowing that translation devices would carry her words to every ear in the room. Honored members of the Galactic Concord, she began. I am Ambassador Yoonji Kim of Earth. Humanity comes to you today not as conquerors or beggars. We come as neighbors. We have looked up at the stars for thousands of years and wondered if we were alone. Now we know the answer, and we wish to join your community. To learn from you, to share what we know, to build a future together. She spoke for 10 minutes. She talked about human history, their art, their science, their dreams. She acknowledged their wars and their mistakes. She did not hide anything. When she finished, she bowed her head and waited. The chamber was silent for a long time. Then the Veleth spoke. Its voice was like stones grinding together. We have observed your species for 200 of your years. We have studied your biology, your history, your behavior. The Morith spoke next. Its voice was like wind through leaves. You are a predator species. Your eyes face forward. Your bodies are designed to chase and kill. Your history is filled with blood. The Creole Queen made clicking sounds that the translator turned into words. You have wars. Constant wars. You kill your own kind. You destroy your own world. You are unstable. Dangerous. Youngji kept her face calm. We have made mistakes, but we have also learned from them. We have grown. Growth is not enough, the Velith said. The Concord exists to protect peace. To maintain order, we cannot allow a predator species into our community. The risk is too great. Taho felt anger rising in his chest, but he stayed silent. This was Youngji's moment. We are not asking you to trust us blindly, she said. We are asking for a chance. A trial period. Let us prove ourselves. The three elder races looked at each other. Some kind of silent communication passed between them. Then the Velith spoke again. The Council has made its decision. Humanity's application for membership is rejected. You have 30 standard cycles to leave Concord space. You are not welcome here. You will never be welcome here. The words hit like a hammer. The human delegation stood frozen. Some of the younger alien representatives looked uncomfortable. A few even looked sad. But none of them spoke against the elders. Yuanji took a slow breath. May I ask for the official reason in writing? You may, the Velith said. But the reason will not change. You are what you are, and what you are is dangerous. The delegation walked back to the horizon in silence. Taho's hands were shaking now. Not from fear. From anger. Hyunwoo walked beside him, his face thoughtful. Did you see their expressions? The scientist asked quietly. I saw, Taho said. They were not disgusted. They were afraid. Truly afraid. Of us. As the horizon pulled away from Nexus Prime, a message appeared on Yunji's private terminal. It had no sender identification. Just a few words in simple text. They fear you. That is the true reason. Yunji read the message 3 times. Then she looked out at the stars and began to plan. 5 years passed after the rejection. The Galactic Concord had drawn a line around human space. They called it the buffer zone. No alien ship could cross it. No trade was allowed. No communication. Humanity was alone in their small corner of the galaxy. The message was clear. Stay away. You are not wanted, but humans were not good at following orders. Captain Subin Lee stood on the bridge of her patrol ship. The Iron Wake. She was 32 years old. Young for a captain, but she had earned her rank through skill and courage. Her job was to watch the buffer zone, to make sure no one crossed from either side. It was boring work most of the time, but she did not complain. She understood why it mattered. Back on Earth, Minister Dong Hai-Nyun sat in his office and read reports. He was the Secretary of Interstellar Affairs, a fancy title for a simple job. Keep humanity safe in a galaxy that did not want them. He was 60 years old and tired, but he could not rest. There was too much work to do. The isolation had hurt humanity at first. They had hoped to trade with alien civilizations, to learn their technology, to see their worlds. All of that was gone now. But something strange happened in those 5 years. Without alien help, humans began to innovate faster than ever before. Dr. Hyunwoo Choi led the science teams. They built new engines that were different from Concord designs. Faster in some ways, more efficient in others. They developed energy systems using methods the aliens had never tried. They terraformed 2 moons and began work on a 3rd. Humanity was growing. Not because of the Concord. In spite of it, Hana Jang worked in a small room filled with screens and computers. She was an intelligence analyst. Her job was to listen. The Concord thought they had cut off all communication with humans. They were wrong. Hana had found ways to intercept their transmissions. It was not easy. The encryption was advanced, but humans were clever, and Hana was the cleverest of them all. One night, she decoded a message that made her blood run cold. She took it straight to Minister Dongyan. He read it 3 times before speaking. "They are calling us plague carriers," he said quietly. "Extinction-level predators. They are telling every species in the galaxy that we are monsters." Hana nodded. "It is propaganda. They want to make sure no one ever helps us." "Why?" "We left peacefully. We followed their rules." "Why do they hate us so much?" "I do not think it is hate," Hana said. "I think it is fear. They are afraid of what we might become." Dong Haiyan leaned back in his chair. He was beginning to understand something important. The Concord was not as strong as it appeared. If they needed to spread lies about humanity, it meant they were worried. And worried people made mistakes. 3 weeks later, Captain Subin's patrol encountered something unexpected. A ship drifted near the edge of the buffer zone. It was damaged. Leaking atmosphere, no power. Her sensors showed life signs inside. Fading fast. Her first officer looked at her. "Captain, that is an alien vessel. If we cross the line to help them, we break the treaty." Subin thought for a moment. The treaty had been forced on them. The Concord had made it clear that humans were not welcome. But those were living beings dying in that ship. Could she really watch them die because of politics? "Prepare a rescue team," she said. "We are going in." The Iron Wake crossed the buffer zone. They reached the damaged ship and cut through its hull. Inside, they found 12 aliens. They were Velith, the same crystalline species that had led the rejection of humanity. Most of them were unconscious. Their bodies were cracked and dim. They were dying. The human medics worked fast. They did not know much about Velith biology, but they tried everything. They stabilized the aliens. They brought them back to the Iron Wake. They gave them food and water and warm places to rest. When the first Velith woke up, she was terrified. She tried to crawl away from the humans standing near her bed. Her crystal body flickered with panic. "Please," she said through the translator, "do not eat me. I know what your kind does." Subin knelt beside her. She kept her voice soft. "We are not going to hurt you. You were dying. We saved you." The Velith stared at her. "Why? We are strangers, enemies. Why would you help us?" Subin did not have a good answer, so she told the truth. "Because you needed help. That is enough reason for us." Over the next few days, the Velith refugees told their story. They were not soldiers or diplomats. They were farmers, workers. The elder races had taken everything from there: colony, resources, technology, even their children sent away to serve the Hive Queens. When they tried to complain, they were labeled as troublemakers. Their ship was sabotaged. They were left to die. "The Concord is not what it appears," one of the older Velith said. "The elder races control everything. The younger species suffer in silence. We thought we had no choice. We thought there was no one who would help us." Subin sent a full report to Earth. Minister Dong Haiyan read it carefully. Then he called an emergency meeting with the other leaders. "The Concord is cracking," he told them. "There are species inside it that are being oppressed. They have nowhere to turn. But if we reach out to them, if we show them that humans are not the monsters they were told about, everything could change." Admiral Tejo, now old and gray, listened quietly. "We must be careful. If the elder races find out we are interfering, they will attack." "They might attack anyway," Hana said. She put a new transmission on the screen. "I decoded this an hour ago. The elder races are discussing something called a preemptive strike. They want to destroy humanity before we become too powerful." The room went silent. Everyone understood what this meant. War was coming. Whether they wanted it or not, Ambassador Yunji stood up. Her hair was white now, but her eyes were still sharp. "Then we need to move faster. We cannot fight the entire galaxy, but we do not have to. We just need to show them the truth." She looked at each person in the room. "The Concord is built on fear. Fear of us. Fear of change. Fear of losing control. But fear is weak. It breaks when you shine a light on it. And we are going to shine a very bright light." Far away on the Iron Wake, Captain Subin watched the Velith refugees prepare to leave. They had decided to stay in human space, to build a new life. The oldest one approached Subin before boarding the shuttle. "I was wrong about your kind," she said. "We all were. I do not know what the future holds. But I will tell everyone I meet what you did for us." Subin smiled. "That is all we ask." The shuttle departed. Subin returned to the bridge and looked out at the stars. Something had changed. She could feel it. The isolation was ending. And whatever came next, humanity would not face it alone. The war room was deep underground. Thick walls of steel and concrete surrounded it. This was where Earth made its most important decisions. And today, the decision they faced was the most important of all. General Young-Soo Beek stood at the head of the table. He was a large man with a scarred face and tired eyes. He had fought in the Mars Rebellion 20 years ago. He had seen what war could do. He did not want another one. But he also knew that sometimes you did not get to choose. "The defensive network is almost complete," he said. "Orbital stations around Earth, Mars, and the colonies. Automated defense platforms at every jump point. If they come for us, we can hold them off." "For a while. How long?" Minister Dong Haiyan asked. "Weeks, maybe months. But we cannot win a straight fight against 47 species. We need another plan." Dr. Jian. Shin stepped forward. She was a xenobiologist. She had spent her whole life studying alien life. The Velith refugees had given her access to information that humans had never seen before. And what she had found changed everything. "I have been analyzing the Concord's history," she said. "The real history. Not the stories they tell. What I found is disturbing." She put images on the screen. Strange creatures. Aliens that no one had ever seen before. These are the Varn, a reptilian species. Aggressive. Territorial. They were discovered by the Concord 8,000 years ago. She pressed a button. "And these are the Pelex mammalian, pack hunters. Very intelligent. Discovered 6,000 years ago. Images changed again and again. 17 different species. All of them had one thing in common. They are all gone," Jian said. "Every single one. The official records say they died from disease or civil war or natural disaster. But the truth is different. They were all predator species, like us. And they were all destroyed by the elder races." The room was very quiet. General Yang-Soo asked. "They call it the Silence Protocol. A coordinated attack. Every Concord species participates. They surround the target world and destroy everything. Ships, cities, people. They leave nothing behind. No survivors. No records. No memory." Kiteno was sitting in the corner. He was young. Only 25. But he was the best engineer humanity had ever produced. He had designed most of the defensive network himself. Now he looked pale. 17 species, he said softly. "They killed 17 species just for being predators." "It's not just for that," Jian said. "The Velith refugees told me more. The Concord has a system. When they discover a new predator species, they study it first. If the species is young and primitive, they guide its development. They change its culture. Its biology sometimes. They make it peaceful, docile, easy to control." She paused. "But humanity developed too fast. We found space travel on our own. We reached the stars before they could find us. By the time they knew we existed, we were already too advanced to change. Too stubborn. Too independent. So they rejected us instead," Ambassador Yunji said from her seat. "And now they plan to silence us." Yes, Admiral Tejo had been quiet until now. He was very old. His health was failing, but his mind was still sharp. "We have two choices," he said. "We can wait for them to come. Fight and die with honor. Or we can do something unexpected. Something they will not see coming." "What do you suggest?" the minister asked. "We tell the truth, not to the elder races. They will never listen, but to everyone else. The younger species. the ones being controlled and suppressed. They do not know what the Concord really is. If we can show them, if we can make them see, everything changes. General Yongsu shook his head. How? We cannot reach them. The buffer zone blocks all communication. Akite suddenly sat up straight. Maybe not. Everyone looked at him. The Concord has a galaxy-wide communication network, he explained. Every planet, every station, every ship is connected. It is heavily encrypted, protected by 1,000 security systems. But it is all connected to one central hub. Nexus Prime, you want to hack the Concord's communication network? Guion asked. Not hack, hijack. If I can get access to the central hub, I can broadcast a message to every receiver in the galaxy. Every alien on every world would hear it at the same time. Minister Donghayan leaned forward. Is that possible? Kite hesitated. I think so. Maybe I would need time, and someone would have to physically reach the hub. It is deep inside Nexus Prime, the most protected station in the galaxy. A suicide mission, General Yongsu said. It's not necessarily, Captain Subin said. She had been listening by video link from her ship. I have contacts now. Velith, who owe us their lives. They know Nexus Prime. They could guide a small team through the station. Even if we reach the hub, Tejo said, we only get one chance. One message. It has to be perfect. Everyone looked at Ambassador Yunji. She had not spoken in several minutes. Her eyes were distant, thinking. Finally, she nodded. I know what to say. I have been thinking about it for 5 years. Every night since they rejected us. I know exactly what the galaxy needs to hear. Then we have a plan, Tejo said. He looked around the room, at the soldiers and scientists and diplomats who had dedicated their lives to this moment. This will not be easy. Many things can go wrong. We might fail. We might all die. But if we succeed, we change the galaxy forever. He stood slowly. His bones ached. His heart was weak, but his voice was strong. Prepare the mission. Train the teams. Finish the broadcast system. He looked at Kite. You have 3 months. Can you do it? Kite swallowed hard. Then he nodded. I will do it, or I will die trying. Let us hope it does not come to that. The meeting ended. People returned to their work. But everyone felt the weight of what was coming. This was not just a mission. It was a gamble. A desperate attempt to survive in a galaxy that wanted them dead. That night, Hana intercepted another transmission. The Elder Races had set a date. The silence protocol would begin in 4 months. The countdown had started. She sent the information to everyone who needed to know. Then she sat back in her chair and stared at the ceiling. For months. That was all the time they had. For months to change the minds of a galaxy that had been taught to fear them. It seemed impossible. But Hana had learned something important in her years of listening to alien communications. The Concord was not as unified as it appeared. There were cracks in its foundation. Species that whispered complaints. Leaders who questioned the elders. Hope that waited in the shadows. Humanity. Just had to find a way to reach it. She returned to her screens and continued listening. Somewhere in all those signals was the key to survival, and she would not rest until she found it. The decoy fleet launched at midnight. 50 ships, enough to draw attention. They flew straight toward the buffer zone with their engines burning bright. Every sensor in Concord space would see them coming. That was the point. Admiral Tejo watched from the command center on Earth. His health had gotten worse in the last 3 months. Doctors said he should rest. He refused. He had started this journey 7 years ago when the horizon first left Earth. He would see it through to the end. The Concord fleet is responding, an officer reported. 200 ships moving to intercept? Good, Tejo said. They are looking the wrong way. Thousands of light years away, a small ship slipped through the darkness. It had no lights. No active sensors. It was invisible against the black of space. Captain Subin sat in the pilot seat, her hands steady on the controls. Behind her were 12 soldiers. the best humanity had, and to Velith volunteers who had chosen to risk their lives to help. The older Velith was named Cora. She had been one of the refugees Subin rescued 2 years ago. Now she was going back to the place that had betrayed her people. The entrance is on the lower ring, Cora said, pointing at the map. A service tunnel. It was closed 50 years ago after an accident. But I know the codes. It should still work. Should. Subin asked. Ak. It will work, Cora said firmly. It has to. The ship approached Nexus Prime slowly. The station was even bigger than Subin remembered from the old recordings. Towers stretched in every direction. Millions of beings lived and worked there. It was the heart of the Concord. And somewhere inside was the communication hub that could reach every corner of the galaxy. They docked in the abandoned tunnel without problems. The codes worked. Cora led them through dark corridors filled with dust and old machinery. No one had walked here in decades. Stay quiet, she whispered. Sound travels in these tunnels. The team moved like ghosts. They had trained for this moment for months. Every step was planned. Every second counted. Back on Earth, Kite sat in front of a wall of screens. His fingers flew across keyboards. Lines of code scrolled past faster than the eye could follow. He was connected to the team through a hidden relay. When they reached the hub, he would take over the system remotely. But first, they had to get there. Team is inside, he reported to the command center. Moving to secondary position, Ambassador Yunji stood behind him. She held a small device in her hands. Her speech was loaded on it. Every word chosen carefully. Every sentence designed to cut through fear and reach the truth. This was her life's work. Everything she had learned about diplomacy, about communication, about what makes people listen. It all came down to the next few hours. How long until they reach the hub? She asked. 2 hours if everything goes well? If it does not? Kite did not answer. They both knew the risks. On Nexus Prime, the team reached the end of the abandoned tunnels. Ahead was a door that led into the main station. Beyond that door were thousands of Concord soldiers, security systems, checkpoints, everything designed to keep intruders out. But Cora had thought of that too. She pulled out a small device. This will broadcast a maintenance signal. For the next 10 minutes, any sensor that detects us will think we are cleaning robots. Will that work? Subin asked. Cora smiled, a strange expression on her crystalline face. I spent 40 years maintaining these systems. I know every weakness. Trust me. The door opened. They stepped into the light. Nexus Prime was alive with activity. Aliens of every shape and size moved through the corridors. Most of them ignored the strange group passing by. A few looked curious but said nothing. The disguise was working. They moved through markets and offices and residential areas. They took elevators and walkways and hidden passages. Twice they had to hide when security patrols came too close. Once a Creel guard stopped and stared at them for a long moment before walking away. Subin's heart was pounding the whole time. But she kept her face calm. Her team needed to see strength, not fear. They reached the communication hub 40 minutes ahead of schedule. It was a massive room filled with machines and cables and glowing screens. A dozen technicians worked at stations around the room. 2 armed guards stood at the main entrance. We need to clear the room without killing anyone, Subin whispered to her team. Stun weapons only. We are not here to start a war. We are here to prevent one. The attack was fast and precise. The guards went down before they could raise an alarm. The technicians were unconscious seconds later. Subin ordered her team to secure the exits while Cora led her to the central terminal. Kite, we are in position, Subin said into her communicator. On Earth. Kite cracked his knuckles and began typing. Connecting now. This will take a few minutes. I have to bypass about 50 security protocols. Those were the longest minutes of Subin's life. She stood guard at the terminal, watching the doors. Waiting for alarms. Waiting for soldiers. Waiting for everything to fall apart, but nothing happened. Kite's fingers danced across the keys. Numbers and symbols flashed across his screens. And slowly, one by one, the security systems fell. I am in, he finally said. The network is ours. We have 60 seconds before they notice and shut us down, Ambassador Subin said. It is time. Yunji stepped forward. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady as she pressed the button and began to speak. Her words went out to every ship, every station, every planet in the Concord. Billions of beings heard her at the same time. In markets and homes and government buildings, in ships traveling through the void, in places no human had ever seen. We are humanity, she began. You were told we are monsters, predators, a plague that would consume everything it touched. But we did not come to your stars seeking war. We came seeking friendship. We came with open hands and hopeful hearts. And you rejected us, not because of what we did, but because of what we might become. Let the words sink in. We know the truth now. We know about the silence protocol. We know about the 17 species you erased from existence. We know about the lies the elder races spread to keep you afraid, to keep you obedient, to keep you from asking questions that might threaten their power. On 100,000 worlds, people stopped what they were doing and listened. We do not ask for your forgiveness. We do not beg for membership in your Concord. We only offer this. Any species that wishes to know humanity as we truly are, not as the elders describe us, you are welcome in our space. We will not conquer you. We will not control you. We will not judge you. We will simply be neighbors. The door is open. The choice is yours. The transmission ended. 60 seconds. That was all they had. But it was enough. On Nexus Prime, alarms began to sound. Subin grabbed Korra's arm. Time to go. They ran through corridors that were suddenly filled with chaos. Aliens shouted at each other. Guards rushed in every direction. No one knew what was happening. No one knew what to do. The team reached their ship without being stopped. They launched into space and burned hard for the buffer zone. Behind them, Nexus Prime shrank until it was just another light among the stars. Did it work? One of the soldiers asked. Subin did not answer. She did not know. But as they crossed into human space, they saw something that made her heart stop. Ships. Hundreds of them. Coming from every direction. But they were not Concord warships. They were civilian vessels. Cargo ships. Passenger transports. All of them heading for Earth. Her communicator crackled. A voice came through. Alien. Scared, but determined. This is the merchant vessel Brightwing. We heard your message. We request permission to enter human space. We want to see for ourselves. Subin smiled. For the first time in years, she felt something she had almost forgotten. Hope. Permission granted, she said. Welcome to our home. 6 months had passed since the broadcast. The galaxy was not the same. The galactic concord had fractured like glass struck by a hammer. 18 species had formally withdrawn from the Alliance. They called themselves the Free Worlds Coalition, and humanity was one of its founding members. Captain. Subin stood on the observation deck of the new embassy station orbiting Earth, through the massive windows. She could see ships from a dozen different species docking peacefully. The Leth crystal vessels sparkled in the sunlight. Moreth cloud ships drifted slowly into their berths. Dozens of others, shapes and designs she was still learning to recognize, filled the void around the station. It was beautiful, and it was impossible. 6 months ago, humanity had been alone, feared, hated. Now, they were at the center of something new. Something that had never existed before. Minister Donghain approached her. He looked younger than he had in years. The weight that had pressed down on him for so long was finally lifting. The council meeting starts in 1 hour, he said. Are you ready? Subin nodded. She had been promoted after the Nexus Prime mission. She was now one of humanity's official representatives to the Coalition. It was a job she'd never expected. But she had learned that life rarely went the way you expected, in another part of the station. Dr. Heianwu was meeting with scientists from 7 different species. They were sharing research, comparing notes, building something together that none of them could have built alone. Your biology is fascinating, a Velith scientist said. You have this ability to adapt, to change. Your bodies heal damage that would kill most species. Your minds can learn new skills at any age. We have never seen anything like it, Huan-Wu smiled. We are survivors. That is what we do. But there is something else, the scientist continued. Something we did not expect. You have empathy. Strong empathy. You feel the pain of others as if it were your own. This is rare in predator species. Most hunters do not care about their prey. We are more than hunters, Huan-Wu said. We are also parents, friends, lovers. We care about each other. And we can learn to care about others too. The scientist's crystal body pulsed with light. It was their way of showing surprise. Perhaps that is why the elder races feared you so much. A predator that cares. A hunter that protects. They did not know how to control something like that. On the other side of the station, Hana was working in her new office. She was the head of Coalition Intelligence now. Her job was to listen to everything happening in the galaxy. And what she heard gave her hope. The elder races had tried to crush the rebellion. They had assembled the largest fleet in Concord history. But when they reached the buffer zone, something unexpected happened. Half of their ships refused to advance. Captains and crews from a dozen species had mutinied. They could not bring themselves to participate in another silence protocol. Not after what they had learned. The remaining fleet had attacked anyway. The battle lasted 3 days. It was brutal. Ships were destroyed. Lives were lost. But the coalition held. Human stubbornness and alien wisdom combined to form a defense that the elders could not break. In the end, the elder races retreated, not defeated, but weakened. Their control was slipping. Species that had obeyed for thousands of years were now asking questions. The galaxy was waking up. Hana intercepted a transmission that morning from deep within elder territory. A group of young Creel were demanding reform. They wanted to know why their ancestors had participated in genocide. They wanted answers. They wanted change. It was happening everywhere. The broadcast had planted seeds. And those seeds were growing. Admiral Tejo did not live to see the full result of his work. He died 2 months after the broadcast, peacefully in his sleep. His last words were to Subin, recorded in a message she received the day after his death. "I never thought I would see this day," his voice said. "A galaxy that does not fear us. Friends we never expected. A future we built with our own hands. I am proud of what we have done. I am proud of you. Take care of them, Subin. Take care of everyone." She had cried when she heard it. Then she had gone back to work. That was what he would have wanted. Today was special. The coalition was holding its first official council meeting. Representatives from all 18 species would gather in one room. They would discuss trade and defense and cooperation. They would argue and debate and disagree, but they would do it together. Ambassador Yunji was elected as the first president of the Coalition Council. She was 70 years old now. Her hair was white. Her body was tired, but her mind was still sharp. And her voice still carried power. She stood at the podium and looked out at the gathered representatives. Crystals and clouds and insects and creatures she had no name for. All of them watching. All of them listening. "Today we begin something new," she said. "Not a replacement for the Concord. Something different. Something better. A place where no species is feared for what it is. A place where strength is measured not by the ability to destroy, but by the courage to protect. We have all suffered under the old system. We have all lost something. But we have found each other. And together, we are stronger than any of us alone." The room erupted in applause. Or what passed for applause among species that did not have hands. Lights flashed. Sounds echoed. Tentacles waved. It was chaos. Beautiful chaos. After the meeting, Subin returned to the observation deck. She needed a moment alone. A moment to think about everything that had happened. A young Morith drifted up beside her. Its gaseous body swirled with nervous colors. It was clearly afraid to approach her. "Excuse me," it said. "Are you human?" Subin nodded. "I am." I have never met a human before. My people told me stories about your kind, that you were dangerous, that you would hurt anyone who came near. What do you think now? Subin asked. The Morith was quiet for a moment. I think stories are not always true. You're right. They are not. Can I ask you something? Of course. Are humans truly as dangerous as they say? Subin thought about the question. She thought about human history, the wars, the violence, the destruction. But she also thought about the other things. The art, the music, love. The way people risked their lives for strangers. The way they built hospitals and schools and bridges. The way they never stopped hoping, even when everything seemed lost. Yes, she said finally. We are dangerous, but not in the way you think. We are dangerous to those who threaten the people we love. We are dangerous to those who hurt the weak. We are dangerous to those who think they can control the galaxy through fear. She turned to face the Morith. But two friends? Two neighbors? To anyone who treats us with kindness? We will protect you with everything we have. That is who we are. The Morith considered this for a long moment. Then it extended a tendril of mist toward her. Its form of greeting, Subin understood. She reached out and let the mist wrap around her fingers. It was warm, gentle, alive. I would like to be your friend, the Morith said. Subin smiled. Then you already are. They stood together at the window, watching ships come and go. The old galaxy was dying. The new one was being born. And humanity, once rejected and feared, was now standing at its heart. Not as conquerors, not as rulers. Just as neighbors, just as friends. That was enough. That was everything. Outside, the stars burned bright against the darkness. Each one was a sun. Each sun had worlds. Each world had people with hopes and dreams and fears of their own. And now, for the first time in 12,000 years, they had a choice. The door was open, and the future was waiting.